Joining us now is the director of the new movie Jane. We're talking with Sabrina Jaglom. And Sabrina, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. This is an incredibly compelling film with a story that needs to be told. This is about modern day bullying, but it's also about mental health.
Yes, thank you.
Now, so tell us about your inspiration for Jane.
Well, I really wanted to tell a story, like you said, about mental health, but particularly through the lens of young adults. I felt that the time when people are growing up and graduating high school, there's just so much pressure. And this is compounded by college admissions, by feeling like suddenly you're going to be an adult and your decisions are set in stone, and obviously by social media. And so, really telling that story through an internal pressure lens without just these sometimes reductive high school movies that just show very frivolous pursuits, something that's really about the pressure that kids put on themselves. And so that's where that came from. I want to tell that through a kind of dark, fun lens because I think it's easier sometimes in a thriller or a genre movie to relate to what's going on, but also because in high school the feelings are so serious and they're so big and they're so important. And so I kind of thought that through a more genre leaning lens, it can better encapsulate the depth of those emotions at that time.
It absolutely does capture that feeling. And one of the things that I appreciate about the way you approach this is that this isn't about saying that, oh, those darn kids and their phones all the time. It's like it's a much more modern approach where just phones are what we use and to communicate at all times. And it's just a normal thing for teenagers that
Yeah.
they happen to use and happen to use very, very well and all too unfortunately effectively in this case.
Completely. I mean, it's for me, obviously, social media is a bit of a character in the film and the platform we created, but it's much more about how the people in the film, the characters, interact with each other because of social media and the way social media affects them rather than what's unfolding just on the screen.
Hmm. Now let's talk about some of the. I loved part of what I recognized while I'm watching this, and this is just the critical side of me, is the way you use mirrors. There are a lot of mirrors in this movie, and that mirror imagery that you use with Madeline Petch and her character and what she sees in the mirror, and of course that is such an effective way to tell her story.
Thank you for noticing. Yeah, I mean, obviously, it kind of plays with these self-perception issues she's having, and the fact that she's seeing a physical manifestation of Jane, but not, her dead friend Jane, but Jane, her kind of alter ego, Jane, her anxiety. But also it's kind of about social media, right? And we're always looking at ourselves in a different way, looking at other people through this twisted lens. There's this kind of voyeuristic element. So I thought mirrors really represented that in an interesting way.
And then, of course, you've got this aspect there of female friendships and the drama that can be part of, especially with young women and their fraught friendships. So that early on, it appears that the two of the friends who have been left behind in the wake of Jane's death have been driven apart, and they're drawn back together. And the intoxication of them being drawn back together almost creates the alchemy that creates this tragedy.
Yeah, completely. I mean, I think friendships at any age can be complicated or sorry, excuse me, friendships of any kind when you're that age can be complicated. But in particular, I think female friendships of that age are weird because you're so close and you kind of like want to be the other person sometimes, but you also don't really know who you are. And in particular, I think you grow apart, but when you're that age and you see each other every day, you don't have that natural feeling of, okay, cool, we just have some distance. It's like a yearning for the closeness you used to have. And in particular, Chloe Bailey's character, Izzy, I always thought of her as this person who's just, like you said, intoxicating. And she's the person that when you're around her, you feel included and light and warm. And so really seeing the way that Olivia, Madeline's character, really yearns for that inclusion is something that I really wanted to bring out. And the girls did a fantastic job with the both the distance and the tenseness and the intimacy.
It indeed, and the way that Chloe, the way that the character of Jane is represented, the way she comes about early on is through the lens of the two of them and their division, and then she becomes, of course, a manifestation as they're doing this really horrible thing using her social media.
Completely. I mean, obviously I've had to justify these characters' actions to myself. And I believe they don't intend to be bad people. They intend to protect themselves. And then there's a moment where they almost feel like vigilantes, where they think we're righting the wrongs as we see them. We're attacking the people that stand in the way of our deserved success. And obviously they're incorrect, but this is a very much a strong POV movie of Madeleine's character, Olivia. But Jane, it's also about grief and the way with social media people exist past their time on this earth and the way that they become something else. And Olivia first sees Jane the first time she has a panic attack. She sees the physical manifestation of her, and it really comes out in her anxiety, which is compounded by the pressures, by grief, and yeah, by utilizing this profile.
The swirling emotions of this story of mental health and her declining mental health, especially Madeline's character. It's just the way that builds in the third act is it was really breathtaking to me.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it definitely reaches the point of no return for her character, where she either has to throw it all away or just kind of commit to this life she's tried to build and protect. And obviously she does. She commits, and it takes her to a crazy place. So we really have to be on that ride with her, where she feels the walls are closing in, but she's plunging straight ahead.
When you're talking with Madeline and you're going over this character, what is she telling you?
Well, we had, before we even got to Albuquerque, where we shot the film, we went through the entire script and kind of tracked Olivia's arc and how she feels, because it's also about how Olivia is defending her own actions to herself or not being aware of them and the way she's operating from. And so Madeline and I had a lot of great conversations about just this character and how she might be feeling. And you have to separate that from reality in a way, because this is about her emotional journey, right or wrong.
She's got a very unique perspective because, of course, having been on a show like Riverdale that was so popular and so part of social media and the zeitgeist, she's in a unique position to observe this story.
Completely. And she shared, both personally with me, but also very publicly, her own struggles with anxiety and panic attacks. And one of the first things she said to me was she loved how on the page it was represented, panic attacks, because I don't think it's something you see a lot. And a number of people have reflected that back to me, that, oh yeah, I was stressed watching it because I felt like I was having a panic attack, which is, kind of the goal that I was going for.
No doubt. I felt it too. It's something. I think this story is more universal than merely just two young women in this case, because I think anybody who sees this can really sense the what you're going for in terms of the story about social media and panic attacks, mental health especially, and the use of genre to get to where you're going is the best way to go. It's the best way to reach people. People love genre stories. This almost feels like a story of a demon or a ghost or that type of thriller.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I always say it kind of has a Trojan horse element to it, genre films, because you get to watch this crazy twisted thing, but it actually has a stronger message at the heart of it. And yeah, I think we all relate to social media, whether or not we grew up with it or came to it later. We're all kind of learning how it affects people. But also with high school, obviously this is a very specific world. It's a world of privilege. It's a college prep environment world. These are two young girls, but at the same time, everyone's felt that feeling of growing up and, oh, suddenly these decisions mean something. And suddenly, I'm creating this path forward, and that pressure is crazy. And hopefully you learn that you can change things and you can build your life in a lot of different ways, a lot of different times. But at that age, it feels very, very serious.
Another aspect of this, and I wanted to touch on this earlier, and I just totally slipped my mind, but I probably bring it back now. Olivia is a member of her debate team, and obviously when it comes to being a debate, she's debating herself constantly, and that is, again, yet another sort of mirror, if you will.
Yeah, she's always kind of justifying things in one way or another, and obviously as the film goes on, you learn she's a very smart, calculating person. And there's a lot of moments where you can go back and think, oh, did she know that already? Or, oh, did she plan that? Because she is not someone who just lets the world pass her by. She takes action for better, for worse. But the debate element also mirrors her mental state. She starts off very on top of things, very self-assured, strong-spoken. And then as her mental health devolves, so does her debate performance. And it's almost interesting at the end when she commits to this path she's created. She gives, once again, like a great debate performance.
It's a powerhouse film. I really enjoyed this. The movie is called Jane. It is in limited release now, and of course, more people will be able to see it soon. Correct?
Yes, it's right now in select AMC theaters nationwide and a few independent theaters. And then on September 16th, it'll be available to stream and rent online on creatorplus.com.
Terrific. Well, Sabrina, Jaglom, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it, and congratulations on this terrific movie.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.